I thought he'd be a fantastic mayor, still do, in making decisions and always put the community at the heart of all decision making. And a lot of people do ask about the disharmony in our council.
Yep.
There's not just one, there's a big list. If you look at the urgent versus, I guess, the long-term important, and I'm going to go strategic, the long-term important. So that is really in my mind. So I'm not the boss of the councillors. But again, to me, it's always about what would the community expect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm the only person in that room, in the chambers, that has been given a mandate by the entire city. What happened. And
you still won. You still won. So,
I think the biggest opportunity, the biggest risk are the same thing, and that it's our growth.
Yeah.
I recently had the privilege of sitting down with Ipswich's first female mayor, Mayor Teresa Harding. Unfortunately, I took more of her time than we allowed for, and for that, I wish to apologise to Mayor Harding. Due to that unintended longevity, and because I'm pretty sure I might be the only political nerd who will sit through an entire council meeting, I don't expect viewers to also be that nerdy. So I've decided to break up this chat with the mayor into 2 parts. Welcome to part 1. In part 1, you'll hear the mayor's vision for Ipswich as its leader driving this direction to move Ipswich forward. We cover misconceptions in the community about the voting structure, as well as the challenges she faces managing diverse chamber dynamics and how that shapes representation as our leader for her personally. My aim is to not only talk shop, but to bring out the human side of a role that's often seen only through headlines and council minutes. So once again, I wish to thank Mayor Teresa Harding for giving me and you the opportunity to meet the woman behind the title.
So thank you very much for inviting me in and saying yes. I really appreciate it. I'm very excited to be here. I'm just going to go straight into it.
Yeah, sure.
When you're not being mayor, what does a day in your life look like?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for doing this podcast. And I feel very honoured to be the first interviewee. And I know that it's really exciting. And when you said when I'm not being the mayor, I guess I work 7 days and probably 5 nights a week. So there's not often I'm not being the mayor. It's a privilege, and my husband and I are empty nesters now, so we do sort of commit 100% to it. So I don't have much of my personal social life, so sort of try to catch up with people. I do crocheting, and I try to do a bit of cooking.
I will be talking about the crochet later.
My crocheting is probably my main stress relief.
Yep.
And probably a couple of months ago, I joined the gym as well, and I'm really enjoying those early morning sessions.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Which gym are you going to?
Anytime Fitness here in the CBD.
Yeah, the one in here. Yep, good. Awesome. Well, you're ahead of me because I do not do any gym at all. So was there a moment early in your life or career that planted the seed for you wanting to serve in local government? I know you've run federally before, but what sort of drove you to switch from federal to local?
I guess for me, when I finished school, I joined the army. So I've always had that strong need to serve. My parents are very involved in the community and volunteer a lot. So I think I sort of grew up with that, and they were local business owners as well. So I did run federally in 2013 and 16, obviously unsuccessfully. And I didn't think I'd run for politics again. I thought the people were very clear. I didn't just lose in 13, but when I ran in 16, I lost margin again. So I thought it was very clear the people of Ipswich did not want me to represent them. So I just became more involved in community groups and volunteering and working and raising the kids. But obviously we had I'll call it the troubles here in Ipswich, and we did have a council that was dismissed for corruption and incompetence, and did really rock our city. And I
sure did. I lived through that. I bought my house in 2009, I think. Yeah, 2009, and yeah, so I was a resident ratepayer through all of that, which is why I put my hand up to run in 2020.
And so, you sit back and say, I wonder who's going to put their hand up. And by about, July, August, I think 2 people put their hand up. And I was like, oh. And I thought, look, I really felt that I had a lot of people asking me. I asked 3 other people to put their hand up,
Mhm.
and I'll tell you one of their names because they ended up running.
Yeah.
But Darren Zano was one of those
Yep,
where I
yep.
said, "Hey, Darren," and he wasn't a member of a political party at that stage,
Mhm.
and but he has a strong background in business, in community, and born and raised here in Ipswich. I thought he'd be a fantastic mayor. Still do. I still think
Mhm.
he would be a fantastic mayor.
He might not think that. He might not want to do the job though,
so,
really.
so I asked and put a fair bit of, and I sort of said, "You run, you do your thing, but I'll just help with the logistics in the background.
Mhm.
There's 50 polling booths, there's all that logistics that you need to do." And I couldn't convince any of them. So by about
Right.
August, I thought I'll have to put my hand up just to give people that option. So
Mhm.
I came out pretty strong. I had my full website with my 6 policies, a 100-day action plan. I was very open and transparent. I put my certificate of service from being in the army. I did my register of interest, my person history. I put everything there just to be really open. I really wanted to make sure that whoever else put their hand up, there'd be a lot of pressure to make sure that we would be a council that would be transparent, and there would be a council that would engage the community in making decisions and always put the community at the heart of all decision making. And just delighted to win.
Yeah, so you
um,
wanted to set the standard basically
yeah,
by setting that tone, and as mayor, that's something that I think was something that should have been done. Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah,
good on you. Good on you. Okay, so I'm not sure if you've ever been asked this before, but if you could sit in my chair
yes.
and ask you a question that you've never been asked before, what would it be?
Oh gosh, I get asked so many questions. Trying to
I
pick, it's probably
know
picking the thing that I haven't been
you haven't been
asked.
asked that you something maybe that you want people to know or that you wish people would ask you, but you haven't and you want to get across.
A lot of people do ask about the disharmony in
Yep.
our council,
Yep.
and I think it's really important to note that we are a democracy.
Mhm.
And I always sort of let people know that not even the King of England could marry the woman he wanted until he had to wait 40 years to marry the woman he loved. When you're in these positions of power, it doesn't mean you get what you want.
Mhm.
And it's really important that we respect democracy, that people do have different views. All 9 of us here that have been voted to council have been given a mandate
Mhm.
from people. So I often get asked, why are you so patient? But I find it's really incumbent on me to make sure that every single council has the opportunity to have their views put forward. So
Mhm.
you'll see in our council meetings, I always make sure that they have every opportunity to get their points of view across. And if they're different, that's fine. That's part of democracy. But it's really important to me that the people that voted for those successful councillors are given that voice.
Yeah. I might have a different view on whether or not the residents get their voice through those councillors, but that's another matter. Okay, so I'll move on to sort of council and your vision now. Ipswich has gone through a lot in recent years. Obviously, you touched on that before, from the corruption scandal and that led to the dismissal, and then we had the administrator years. What do you feel has been your biggest step forward for the city since then?
I think the biggest thing had to be that cultural change to transparency. A
Mhm.
lot of work was done during administration, and it was a big learning curve for council staff as well, because they were used to councillors telling them how to do their job, what to do on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And whereas the Local Government Act is very clear, that cannot occur.
Mhm.
Whilst I can direct the CEO, I cannot wander around the halls of the council or
Yep.
pull up on the side of the road when I see someone mowing a park and tell them how to do it.
Right.
If I have that feedback, I give it to the CEO.
Mhm.
Just like the Minister for Defence doesn't walk onto RAF Base Amble, they start telling the techos how to
How to do
how to
their
fix the
job?
plane,
Yes.
or the federal member doesn't walk on the base. Shane doesn't walk on the base until people how to do that, and our local state members don't walk into the school classrooms until
Yep.
teachers how to do it. So
Yep.
just respecting the roles and responsibilities we all have,
Mhm.
and the powers that the CEO has as well.
Yep.
And obviously the council hire and fire the CEO. We set the budget and we set the policies and the strategies, and that's how we wield power to make sure that we provide those services for our residents.
Yep. Nice. Nice. Good job. Love that answer. Love that answer. If you had unlimited resources today, what is the one project or change you'd implement for us residents right now?
There's not just one, there's a
I,
big list.
I was when I was writing this question, I was like, she's gonna have to narrow it down. And yeah, I know I'm asking a lot, but
Yeah.
what is you'll have the opportunity to talk about our projects later
Yeah.
on, but what is the one change you'd implement right now if you had unlimited resources?
Yeah. look, you look at the urgent versus, I guess, the long-term important, and I'm going to go strategic.
Yep.
The long-term important is probably the Ipswich to Springfield Central train line.
Yep.
That's a 25-kilometre train line. That'll probably cost between $2 and $3 billion, but we do know that 70% of our population's growth will be along that train line.
Yes.
It's the single biggest thing. Recently, earlier this year, with the other mayors of South East Queensland, I did go to England and to Paris as an educational tour. And one of the cities we visited in England was Manchester. And they're very similar to Ipswich, very much working class, coal mining. The people have got a lot of grit, strong sense of community, beautiful heritage buildings. But the lessons from them as they grow and they thrive, they have done incredible work attracting investment and growing, is the importance of public transport.
Yep. And
their number one lesson to us was you need to have great public transport. A city cannot thrive without decent public transport. So that is really in my mind the fact, and that's a consistent message we get from other cities that are not capital cities, that are regional cities that thrive, is that you need to have a really good public transport system. Whilst we're really fortunate to have a railway line, we do need to connect that loop. Our city is disconnected between Ipswich and Springfield. Having that loop where the growth is, there is no other public transport corridor in our state that has a strong business case as what we have. So that would be the number one thing that I would be wanting if we had any resources.
Yeah, nice. I agree. Because a lot of the growth for our city is actually heading in that direction. So something has to be done to kind of mitigate all of those people not all of those people, what am I saying? All of those people that are going to be residing there and need to get to wherever they need to go. So yeah, I think that's a good one to have picked. Okay. Many people don't realise that the mayor's vote is just one of 9 in council. This is such a sticking point for me, and I probably go on about it so much online. But how would you explain to residents what that means for how outcomes are decided, particularly when decisions should be made in the public's best interest?
So yes, I am one of 9. The only time when that is a little bit different is if there is a tied vote, and that has happened in our council. Let's say a council is either away or they have a conflict of interest and they have left the room, and just so there's an even number of votes, there's 8 people in the room, I have the deciding vote. So whoever the chair is has the deciding vote. So I'm not the boss of the councillors. It'd be wonderful. It is a very different. It is a different. My only employee is the CEO. So I have no authority to discipline the councillors. I have no authority to direct them. Just like they don't have any on myself. So everything is around leadership and discussions and working with them and working within the boundaries of the law and our policies.
And how you run a meeting too.
And how I run a meeting.
It's very strict.
It is. I run a little less formal than the meeting procedures state. The meeting procedures do state that each council only speaks once each on a matter, and as you can see, I've only enforced that once, and that was during the naming of the Pasali Bridge. And I did that more to protect the councils legally, and I let them know beforehand that they'd only be speaking once. So, just to be really fair to councils. But you'll see that I run a pretty informal, I want people to have their say, and if something that someone else has said has triggered another thought or a view or an opinion, I want them to be able to say that. I mean, if they can't say it at a council meeting, when can they? I just think that that's that opportunity to do that. So I think it's really important to know that whilst I'm the mayor and I'm the, first among equals, we all just have one vote.
Yeah, it is literally your one note, see, there's that, what I was talking to you about before. That's going to stay in. Thank you very much, universe. But you are one vote out of 9.
Yeah, and under the Local Government Act, under Section 204, I do have additional responsibilities. It is my responsibility to lead and manage the council of a high efficiency and high administration. I'm the only councillor that can direct the CEO. The councillors can't do that unless it's a council resolution. I can as a mayor, I can speak to any council officer I wish to in council. I can't direct them to do things, but I can certainly ask them questions or have discussions with them. Whereas that's not a proviso that the councillors have. They have to go through a certain list of usually branch managers or above. I also represent our city for civic and ceremonial duties, And it's also up to the mayor if I want to delegate any of those authorities to another councillor. So that's my decision to make.
Yeah.
But again, to me, it's always about what would the community expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, some of us have high expectations.
And so you should.
Yeah. Sometimes residents assume, though, that as mayor, you make the final call. And I've seen that in commentary online time and time again. How does that shape what you can realistically achieve in chambers when you're really only one vote out of 9?
I think because at the state and federal level, they have a different method. So people don't directly elect their prime minister or directly elect their premier. They elect their local, state, or federal member of parliament, and then the party machine elects who the prime minister is and the premier. So the premier and the prime minister, do have that confidence of the party and therefore the numbers. So in Queensland, all of the mayors are popularly elected. So I'm the only person in that room in the chambers that has been given a mandate by the entire city.
Yep.
And that's why I'm still, my title is actually as a councillor. I'm a councillor for the entire city. The rest are councillors for the divisions, but they still have to make decisions for the whole city as well. So I think that's probably really important to note. That's why every now and then you might see in state and federal politics they'll do a no confidence motion or something like that. That actually can't happen in local government because there's no such thing as no confidence because the people have directly elected their mayor.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it was so important with things that have happened this term in particular. I don't know if you'll discuss the local disaster management group, councillors trying to gag me. When you've been the only person in that room that's been elected by the entire city, it's a bit rich when councillors try to do that.
Yeah, there is definitely
the community are not happy.
yeah, and we're going to actually lead straight into chamber dynamics right now. So council decisions often involve a range of perspectives around that table before a vote is made. How do you approach those discussions with the other 8 councillors so that residents' voices are still part of the outcome, given decisions should always be made in the public's best interest?
Yeah. Look, if you look at the votes, you probably find about 97% of the voting we're usually unanimous. So it's the 3% that are the contentious that usually get into the media. No one ever says, "Hey, council worked collaboratively on 97% of these matters." So it's those 3%. I guess for me, I mean, I can sit here with another councillor who'll have I'll say something's black, they'll say it's white, and they'll be absolutely convinced this is what residents want, and I'll be convinced the same. And I'll say to, I often get people ask me, why do politicians fight so much? And I'll say, well, my husband and I love and adore each other and have similar values and ambitions in life, but we don't agree on everything. So it's a matter of being robust and professional in how you do that, and each councillor needs to represent their community as best they can. And I guess we have a performance evaluation every 4 years.
Yep,
at the ballot box.
Absolutely. And you won again last term.
Yeah, and there were 6 candidates, and certainly 3 candidates all sort of worked together to do a preference deal. So I was delighted to see my primary vote increase by 4.5%.
Yeah, it was quite a good. I mean, I was pre-polling for you, and thank you very much for letting me have that, because I didn't have that in 2020 because we had COVID.
Yes.
So I mean, that was good at the time because I really didn't want to do it then. I was very, very nervous, but thank you for letting me have a go at that pre-poll with you, because I got to experience what it would have been like for me.
It's a different, for anyone who wants to volunteer, if you quite like your local councillor or your local MP, we're always looking for volunteers and really appreciative. And I think also the other things too, to me, anyone who volunteers, who helps me, if they ring me, they get a phone call back that day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I have this thing that someone's going to sweat with me. You've got to listen and always listen to what residents have to say. But I think anyone who's prepared to put in the work, and I think anyone who's, like I said, really passionate about the area, feel free to get involved with your local MPs or councillors.
I actually love it. I find it fun. I know I'm that loser who's like, please chuck me on a poll. I don't know why, but I just love it. I know I'm.
It's democracy in action, isn't it? I mean, as someone who's ex-army, to see that in action is fabulous. In 2020, as you would know, because of COVID, there was no scrutineering allowed, and that really blew my mind, because in any democracy, you see Australian troops deployed in peacekeeping roles ensuring that the votes are scrutinised.
Yep.
That blew my mind that we weren't allowed to scrutinise our vote in 2020. But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
what happened, and
You
we
still
move on.
won. You still won. So, you know, still won.
Won every booth, so that was great.
Yeah. Okay, so you're very active on social media, very active through your Facebook page, and you share a lot about council decisions and things that are coming up for council. But what's a behind the scenes challenge that you navigate that most residents probably, oh, there it is again, most residents probably wouldn't know?
I guess first of all, the councillors do their own Facebook page. Unlike the state and the federal MPs who have political advisors and political staff, in council we have no political staff. Any administrative staff is that they're administrative staff who work to the CEO.
Yep.
So we do our own posts ourselves. That's why you'll see such a huge range.
Yep.
And council has their own page, and we share some of those things. I guess for me, it's probably the monitoring. Obviously, there's rules that have changed that we're responsible as publishers, and you'll see that if any. So it's that I don't like to block people or hide comments. I really detest that. I'd rather have people have a go at me and hear about it and know about it than lose an election.
Yeah.
So it's really important that I get that negative feedback as well as the positive feedback. And the only time where I will block someone is if they have made racist or homophobic comments and I look their name up on the electoral roll and they're not in Ipswich.
Right.
Then I've blocked them and I'll say, hey, I'll block, unless you can prove to me that you're someone else and you live here. And if you look on there are people there who have a go at me constantly to resign. I've looked them up. They haven't said anything homophobic. They haven't said anything racist. They live in Ipswich. I keep them up there because they are a resident. I know that other people don't do that, and that's up to them. They can legally block them. That's up to each individual elected representative. But I guess I'm also keen, probably the other thing for us in council, under the Code of Conduct, we are not allowed to conduct council business on social media. And I know that's very frustrating for residents because they ask questions and they want us to respond there. One thing that came out with the dismissal of the council and the corruption and the poor governance is that councillors had Gmail addresses, they were corresponding with residents and developers using non-council email addresses, and so that's why I probably think more charges weren't laid because things just couldn't be found. So it's really clear you have to use a council email address. So that's why I always say, hey, please email my office and I can come back to you.
It's the first thing you see when you go to your Facebook page is please don't use Facebook and please contact.
I know
council.
people would like me to respond there, but I have to follow the laws of the land.
Well, you can't be online all day.
The only way I can get around is probably screenshot my response and then email it back or give it to council, but then that would take me hours each day if I did that.
And, absolutely. And you're already very busy as it is, so you don't need another thing to do. What do you see as Ipswich's biggest opportunity in the next 5 years and its biggest risk?
I think the biggest opportunity, the biggest risk are the same thing, and that is our growth. We are the fastest growing city in Queensland. No other city comes anywhere near the growth that we will be experiencing the next 10 to 20 years. And we're one of the sort of top 5 fastest growing cities in Australia as well. So it's terrific, great for businesses that will have, they'll have more customers. I think great for residents because you would expect that more infrastructure would come, better public transport, more services, more cafes, more businesses, more fun things to do. You can see here the Nicholson Street Precinct with Hoyts and the different businesses will happen. And I think too, we're a very multicultural city as well. So I think the opportunity of new people coming in, and look, I wasn't born and raised in Ipswich. I moved here in 2006. My husband was born and raised here. So I think the opportunity as people move in that they'll come in with their views and experiences. And so how do we keep what we love about Ipswich, but also open our hearts to all the new ideas and wonderful ideas? I mean, I go to so many community groups and you find that half the people there were not born in Ipswich, but they've lived elsewhere and they've got these great experiences. And I'm really pleased with how we're leaning into that. So that's a great opportunity. But our risk is that we won't get the infrastructure that we so desperately need. And we can see with things like Ripley Road, which is a state government responsibility. It's a priority development area. And that's just been, you can see the last 10 years, actually probably 15 years, how we haven't had that investment. We can see with bus networks, we expect at the end of this year to have better bus networks, so that'll improve. And I think sporting and community infrastructure is the other thing. when you look at other cities like Logan and Moreton Bay, they're getting additional indoor sports stadiums. We don't have any indoor sports stadiums. We need our state and federal MPs to advocate and secure that funding to get that. We should be having quite large sporting fields, and councils receive 3% of all taxes, and the state and the federal governments receive 97% of taxes. So the model is usually that the state and the federal MPs will secure the funding for the capital works. So here's the money for the land and the fields and the clubhouses.
Yep.
And then council takes it onto its books, and we maintain it, and we depreciate it, and we look after it. And that's what we do with our 3% of the taxes that we collect.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like much.
And we are just not getting that. We are so far behind when it comes to community facilities, and it's really disappointing. So I'm really concerned. So hopefully, as we get, as we grow, that will change.
Yep. Yeah. Given all you've described about Ipswich challenges, how has that shaped you personally?
Personally?
Yeah.
I think I knew coming into this job, some of the challenges would be, how do you communicate better with residents? How do we inform residents with more information? So the information we have on the Transparency Integrity Hub, which is, we're the only council in Australia that has that. We are the most open and transparent council in Australia. We received
I've dived into it.
2 national, one of them is just there, the McKinnon Foundation Prize. So I'm very proud of that, and making sure that that residents get the information that we get to make decisions, unless they're commercial in confidence or something like that. So it's really important to me. I know as a leader that I won't make the right decision all the time. I'll try my very hardest, but I hope that residents will see that, well, this is the information that we were given, and they can understand why I've made the decision that I've made. So you asked about how it changed.
How it shaped you personally.
I think just really making sure that we go back to basics with communication, listening and responding to residents. I also came in during COVID, which was not expected. And also knowing that I had to make sure that the CBD would be up and running. The previous council lost over $78 million of ratepayers' money, and don't get me started on what we could do with that. Not insurmountable. I mean, to have a CBD, and for the people in Ipswich are very hardworking. We're grassroots. We're salt of the earth. It upsets me so much that $78 million of their money was frittered away on private jets, extravagant 7-star travel, and just frittering away on the precinct there. So the interim administrator sort of gripped it up, got us into the debt, and we as a council in 2020 had to make sure that this would be a success. So we had the debt, we had the plans. Building it during COVID and also tenanting it and leasing it during COVID has been incredibly challenging. I'm really proud of the council team and our CEO and what's happened there. Councillor Marnie Doyle led that that precinct in the last term, and we're very lucky to have someone who comes from her background as a lawyer, but also working for an institutional bank, and the work that she did to get where we are. We now have over 90% of the council-owned space in the Nicholas Street precinct that is fully leased.
Nice.
So, we still have ways to go. We're still trying to get that sports bar locked in, and doing a lot of work to attract a name brand hotel into our CBD and all that sort of stuff as we gear towards the games. But
that's a bit exciting.
It is. But personally, I think I just knew that my personal life would be put on hold while I was.
It sounds like
here.
it.
and it is an honour to serve. Like I said, I'm ex-army. My husband's Air Force, and we're used to, when he's deployed, what happens? The whole life, your whole family is on that, and that's how we have treated it. That this has been a very fortunate 8-year deployment. Let's hope there's more. but this is the main goal, and my sole 100% focus is on our city and on our community.
Nice. Well, that's kind of what we want our mayor to do. So
that's where I'm going to leave part 1. Please keep an eye on my channel for part 2, which will be dropping soon. Here's a little sneak peek of what's still to come.
Because when you come into politics, it's exponential and it's very public. So you have to know who you are as a leader. You have to know what your values are. You have to know where where your morals lie, where your integrities lie. Things that I look back on, things I'm really proud of, are probably things that are not much in the media.
I hope what you've seen so far has given you more of an insight into the person behind the role and what drives her decisions in those chambers. Like I say, what happens in those chambers matters. For those playing at home, I'm still waiting for Councillor Paul Tully to lock down a time to sit with me. We're 20 emails in and he hasn't said no, so there's still hope. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back here for part 2. Peace.